Let me set the scene. October 31st, 4 a.m., 2022. We are in the hospital. We are just hours away from my first daughter, Layla, being born. And my wife, Dell, is in the bed. She is sleeping, and I can't sleep because I'm about to become a new dad. And didn't know what to think, didn't know what to do, didn't know what the future held, and had all these people telling me what was going to happen and how I needed to live and how life was going to change and all this stuff. Because I didn't know what else to do, I opened up my computer and of course I went to work. So I opened up my Stripe account, and the first thing I checked, remember October 31st, it was the end of the month, and I had been doing the coaching for about a year at that point, this new business. And I opened up the Stripe account, I looked at the previous month of October, and it was the first month we had ever made more than $85,000 a month. But remember, $83,000 per month is equivalent to $1 million business. And I remember in that moment, I thought, I was about to become a first-time parent, and it was a symbol that I knew I could do both. Fast forward to 2025, Aiden was born, my second child, on February 17th, 2025. And same thought again, well, you had one kid, now wait till you have two, and you're not gonna be able to balance, and work-life balance and family and pressure, and maybe life is going to change, and all these things were going to happen. Fast forward another 6 weeks, the end of March, I checked the balance again, and between my two companies, we set a record. We did the most money we had ever made in my life in this 1 month, just 1 month after my second child was born. And in both instances, it just got me to the point of understanding that I could do both. And so the rest of this podcast, I want to speak to you about not only my journey of how I've gotten here with building a family and building a business, some of the belief blockers that I used to have, how I work through them and how it can help you, and then also teach you some tactics and strategies that you can absolutely deploy tomorrow, the next day, and the next day in your business, whether you're just starting out, whether you've started a family, whether you have a family, so that you can have both. And I'm here to tell you that you can. So before we get into the tactics and strategies that you can deploy in your own life to get everything you want out of your family and everything you want in your business, the first thing I want to speak about is the belief blockers that people hold that set up false beliefs, false pretenses that just set them up for failure. So number one, work-life balance. In my opinion, work-life balance is BS. There is no world in which you can own a business, you can start a business from scratch and have balance in your life. What I prefer is work-life integration. And so if you go in with the expectation that you are building a business with the idea that there are many challenges, it's going to take more time, you're not going to be able to work 9 to 5, but also understanding that you can include your family within that, it changes how you think about your business. So if you are a practicing chiropractor and you have a practice that you need to go and market, here's an example of what you could do. Let's say on a Saturday you have an event. Let's say you're working a 5K, a local race. Well, if you have 2 kids and a wife or a family or a husband, why not include them in this? Why not find ways to bring them into your world? Maybe they can help you at the event, maybe they can walk or run the race, but they can absolutely integrate themselves into your life. Rather than saying, I'm going to do the race from 9 to 2 and then I'm gonna be with my family from 2 to 5, what about including them in your world? If you're like me and you have a team of people, why not invite those people into your world? Invite them over with your family. Why don't you include them in what you're doing? So work-life integration for me is a much better idea than work-life balance. Work-life balance feels very strict, feels too structured, and I think it puts a pressure on your family and yourself and your business, and oftentimes you end up not getting what you want on either end. So to me, work-life balance is a false expectation, and you absolutely cannot do that in the way that you want. And so since 2018, even before I had kids, I was in mastermind groups. I was traveling typically to Florida from New Jersey multiple times a year. In 2022, we had Layla. And so now all of a sudden I started to think, how can I include Layla and my wife Dell into this experience? Because I used to just fly out 2 or 3 days and then come back. Well, one of the ways I integrated my family into my work and life is that last year they flew to Florida with me to Orlando, and I did my mastermind for 2 days. And then after that, we spent 2 days at Disney World. And so that was a way that I was able to integrate my work and my life together where I could do both. Because at the end of the day, for me, the work-life balance, I'm not willing to sacrifice on either. And so in that example, I started to think about, all right, life is different. It will look a little bit different. However, if I can integrate the two within it, then we're going to have a life and a business that is still growing. So in that capacity, I was able to not only continue to grow myself and grow my business, and then I was able to spend 2 days with my family at Magic Kingdom, doing stuff with them, spending time at the pool. And so it was a great memory for me where I could do the things exactly how I wanted to, still grow my business, but include my family within that. So that is a way for me, instead of having work-life balance, how I have work-life integration. I know many friends that once they have kids and family, they stop doing the things to grow their business so that they can be with their family more. I've worked with clients, unfortunately, that literally cannot leave their house. They cannot get on a plane to leave on a weekend because they can't leave their family. But again, you know, if you're in my mastermind group and you're coming to New Jersey, why not bring your family and then go spend 2 days in New York City with them, or go to Philadelphia, or take them as part of your journey. Again, that is a way you can integrate in a work-life balance like I have done and chosen to do in my life, even though circumstances, situation, family has changed. So the second belief blocker that people hold within their life and their business is as soon as they start to grow their family, they're going to decrease their business. And I think this is another belief that if we go into thinking that this is going to be true, guess what? It will be true. So very, very tactically, when I think about a big life change with growing the family and still wanting to grow the business, the first thing that I do in this situation that I would want to encourage you to do is decide on the outcome. The problem with most people is they are so nervous and afraid and they don't do anything to take action on it. But prior to having my first child, prior to having my second child, I already decided on what I wanted to happen. I decided on what the outcome was going to be. The outcome for me was that I was going to grow my family and I was also going to grow my business. Once I started at the end with those two facts, all of a sudden my actions changed because I was unwilling to compromise on either one. Again, the thing that I think about is, are you the flag or are you the flagpole? And what I mean by that is when people change circumstances in their life, they're often the flag. Whatever way the wind blows is the way that they're going to go. So if they have a child and the wind blows that way and things get stressful, their business is going to take a step back. A flagpole, they're planted in the ground. So whatever way the wind blows, they are stuck in the decision that they made. Think about making the decision to both grow your family and grow your business as being the flagpole. You stick your feet in the ground and you just decide, you make a decision that that is absolutely what's going to happen, that you will be able to have both. And so in my life, when I was opening my practice, I decided that I was unwilling to compromise either. And so step one after I opened my practice was we got married. And so once I got married, it was not like, oh, well, now I have a wife and I can't grow my business. I decided we were still going to grow the business. And then a couple years later, we had our first child and I decided, I put my feet in the ground, I was the flagpole. I decided that the business was still going to grow and I was still going to be able to grow my family. And then a couple years later, we have a second child and the same thing happens. And the thing that changes when you make that decision to become the flagpole is that you start being proactive in your decision. Very, very tactically for me, once we added a second child, now things become more hectic. However, as I started to think about what life was going to look like, I knew that I was going to have to make different decisions. I was going to have to bring other people. I needed more help. And so one thing that we did was we hired a nanny to help 2 to 3 days a week within the house. Because with a second child, it now is all hands on deck. And that's either going to be my hands all the time, which again, I spend time with my family, but I also don't want to spend 20 or 30 minutes taking the garbage out or doing the dishes or things that I know I can pay someone else to do so that I can do the two things that are going to help me the most, which is grow my business and spend time with my family. But the point is not the tactics. The point is the decision that I made before all of it happened. And if you decide before, you have a chance to then go take action on it so that you get the outcome that you want. And so tactically, sure, hiring this person or thinking about it this way or having someone cut your lawn, but just looking at your life and making the decision that I am not willing to accept anything less than I'm going to do both, and then your decisions magically change. And so the number 3 belief blocker actually ties the first two together, and that is that if you are an entrepreneur and a business owner, if you're a chiropractor that owns their own practice, that you absolutely have to do it all yourself. And I'm here to tell you that you can't. If you want to grow your business and grow your family, you absolutely cannot do it all yourself. I think that this belief blocker for you guys that are just getting into practice or building a practice, you're under $50,000 a month, please listen up to this because it could be the most important conversation that anyone has ever had with you. Today in 2025, I always say Justin just thanks the guy in 2015, 16, 17. Because today in 2025, Justin is just reaping all the rewards of the decisions that guy made back then. And so for you that are listening to this that aren't in the position that I'm in, good, pay attention because I've been there and the decisions that I made are now allowing me to live the life that I want. But it didn't start today. What we have to recognize is that you absolutely will not get where you want by yourself. My greatness is in the agency of others, and by the way, so is yours. Sometimes, unfortunately, people that go to medical school or chiropractic school, they have a God complex, they have the doctor complex, where they just believe that they can do everything, they can be everyone, they can be the chief marketer and the best doctor and the best family man, they can do all of it. You can't. You won't be able to. And so, as I always say, my greatness is in the agency of others. And the reason why that's important is because back in 2016, when I started to think about the business and the life that I wanted, the decisions that I made at that moment, I am benefiting from those today. And so back in 2017 was I first decided that I needed to grow the business. The business opened in 2015 and I did it by myself, and my mom helped part-time. And I realized in 2017 that in order to take the next step, I needed to hire an admin. And that was when Lauren, who came onto the team and who is still with us today. But she was someone who I helped expand and grow so that I didn't have to take all the phone calls and write all the emails. But again, I didn't have the money at the time, and it was an investment. And of course, it would have been easier just to keep it for myself. But thinking back to that time and saying, all right, you need to invest in the future, in the life that you want, that was step one. A year later, we then brought on the first associate chiropractor, Ashton, and we brought on a marketing assistant, Hannah, and they were people that could help grow and expand the business short term and help put more money in my pocket without me having to do all of the work. But long term, these are people who we've been able to grow the organization with. That doesn't make Justin have to do everything in these businesses. And so if you fast forward, take those decisions that were made in 2017 and 2018, how are they benefiting Justin in 2022, 24, 25? Well, while Justin is in the hospital and spending time with the family, when we're having kids and we're taking vacations, guess what? The businesses, they run and they actually grow when I'm not here. But again, that didn't start today. All of those outcomes that I'm able to get, which are unbelievable, and it's the best thing ever that I can have businesses that not only run and function without me, but grow. All of that happened not because of what Justin did today, but the decision that he made in 2017. And so we have to go back to understand those belief blockers that you've got and look at them to say, all right, is this true? And in this situation, do I have to do it all myself? So if we review the 3 belief blockers that are going to get you stuck in your business, and if you're worried about scaling your business, growing your team and your family, and you don't think you can do both, these are the belief blockers that I've seen over and over get people stuck. Number 1, that you think you need work-life balance, you will never have it. It is not work-life balance, it is work-life integration. Number 2, you need to think that if your family is going to grow, that your business is going to decrease. It is not true. And one point to that is, listen, the world is always going to pull you back into mediocrity. They're going to tell you, just wait till you have kids, you're not going to be able to grow your business anymore. I'm telling you, that is what normal people think. But if you want to be extraordinary, you can't listen to normal people. And number 3, to tie them all together, the belief blocker that most chiropractors have is that they need to do it all themselves. But I beg you today, look at your business and think, what is it that I want? Do I want to put more money in my pocket? Then I need to grow a team. Do I want to have more free time? Then I need to scale my team. I need to train them. Do I want to build the practice of my dreams where it'll run with or without me being there physically all the time and it can actually grow? Then I need to look at these 3 beliefs and look at myself in the mirror and say, which one of these do I believe to be true? And how can I take action so that we can get beyond these and start moving into growing a real business? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about here is I'm going to go through a typical day in the life of Justin in 2025, but please stay to the end because I'm going to go through exactly what I think your life as a practicing chiropractor that sees patients and is trying to scale your business, what that should look like. And what I'll do actually is I'll think about if Justin could do it even better back in the day when he was there, how he would have gotten to this point faster. So stay tuned. So what does a day in the life of Justin look like right now? The first thing I'm going to break down is what happens from the time I wake up to the time I get to work. So 6 a.m. is wake up. Now, I'll go through some other tactics and strategies when things get crazy, but on a normal day, I wake up at 6 a.m. Before everyone else gets up typically, but I have 20 to 30 minutes to myself. And at that point, from 6 to 8, it is family time. So we're making breakfast, we're having breakfast, we're hanging out. Me, my wife, Layla, and Aiden, we're typically up at this time, and we have about a 2-hour block where we're spending time together. At 8 o'clock, typically I take Layla to school, and then I drop her off, and then by 9 o'clock, I'm at the gym. 9 to 10, 4 or 5 days a week, I'm working out. And at that point, I've accomplished a lot. I have not only spent time with the family, I have taken my daughter to school, and then I've done self-care. One of our family core values is put your own mask on first. And so within that, I'm spending time with the family, but every single day I have time on the calendar to make sure I'm taking care of myself. Now, before I go to the next step, here's a pro tip, and I thought about this today at the gym. one way that I get more done actually is I actually think about a problem I'm trying to solve before I go to an activity. As an example, this podcast, the content for this podcast, I knew going in that we were recording this today. And so before I went to the gym, I reviewed my notes and the outline, because while I was working out, I actually was thinking about what I was going to say, the content I want to do, the stories I wanted to tell. And so for you guys that are doing marketing, or you have to have a sales conversation or leadership conversation in your business, what I would encourage you before you go for a walk or before you're going to do some exercise is actually put it in your head, something that problem you want to solve, some higher level principles that you want to go through, because you'll have really good ideas as you're going through a physical activity. And then actually, even as I was going home, I reviewed my notes again after I finished with the gym. So that 10-minute ride home, I was thinking about even more what I was going to say on this podcast. And so within this, 6 to 10, 6 to 10, 15, I've done a lot already within my day. The next block for me from about 11 a.m. to 3:30 is when I'm working. And so depending on the day, which I'll go through later, because I think this is a key point for you guys that are in practice about time blocking, but I'll give you some more specific tactics. 11 to 3:30 is my work day. And so whether I'm working here at my house or I'm going out to do work somewhere else, this is the time I'm going to spend doing my work. That can be meetings, that can be calls, that can be speaking to my mastermind, that can be writing copy or planning events, but 11 to 3:30 is my work time. Almost every day, 3:30, I finish work, I go to pick Layla up from school, I bring her home, and then from about 3:30 to 6:30 is family time. We have dinner, we play outside, get everyone ready for bed, and from 3:30 to 6:30, that is the time that I spend with the family. So if you think about a normal day, up at 6, all the way through 6:30, we've had a 2-hour block in the morning, and then another 3-hour block in the afternoon that we're spending a lot of time with family. So here you can see how I've integrated not only working out during my day, time with the family in 2 different aspects, and we've had a pretty good 12 hours right here of being able to do absolutely everything that I want to do. At 6:30, we have trained our children and trained ourselves. It is bedtime. And so 6:30 at night, kids go to sleep. By 9 every single night, Dell and myself, we are in bed. And the reason why we can get up at 6 a.m. without an alarm, which we do almost every day, is because at 9 o'clock every single night, we are in bed. So that is my typical day. And this is a full day. This is time with family. This is getting a lot of work done. This is making sure I'm having self-care. There's a lot that goes on in a normal day. And so what I've showed you here, and this is a key higher level principle that all of you have to consider in your life and in your business. So this is a normal day, a normal, non-crazy day when everything is average and normal, getting my normal work done. But I'm going to put a box, a red box here, and I'm gonna put a red box here. And the reason I'm putting a red box in the beginning of the day, before my day, and at the end of the day is because I recognize that life or business many times is not normal. And so for my life currently, I live in worlds where I have live events. We are in live event season right now in the month of May, where I'm getting ready for live events. There are times when I'm writing my book where I have to have more work. It is not a normal situation. There are times when I have to prepare for a presentation. There are times when the workload increases. And in these red boxes, this is the time that I have to make to get more things done. Because the thing about business is that there are certain things that always need to get done. This work block of 11 to 3:30, those are the normal day-to-day things that have to get done. The meetings, the time, the studying, the meeting with the team, the meeting with my mastermind members, the calls that I have to do. Those are normal work activities, but there are times when more things have to happen. And the reason why I put the red boxes here is because the way that I've designed my life is that there are times when I have to push it a little bit. So I normally wake up at 6. But if I'm writing my book, the only time that I can do that with no distraction, with the house being quiet, where my brain is working the way it needs to, sometimes it means that I have to get up for a period of time at 4 or 4:30, which gives me a 2-hour block to prepare. A few weeks ago, as I was preparing for my live event, I was up at 4:30. 4:30, cup of coffee, and I'm to work. And so there's an extra block that I have here. Again, I don't want to do it forever. I'm not going to do it forever. I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. all the time, but I know that there are times that I absolutely need to spend more time doing it. Also, the end of the day, I prefer not to. At 6:30, when many people are like toast for the day, I feel the same way. I'd rather just watch Netflix or do something mind-numbing. But there are times that I can't. And so the way that I live my world is that I have my normal activity, but I also have these blocks that I know if I need to put in 4 or 5 more hours, I got time in the beginning of the day and time at the end of the day. They're not ideal, and I won't do it all the time perpetually, but when I need to push, I have these periods of time. The other thing here, and again, this is another work-life balance. Guess what? Saturdays and Sundays, you can do work. You're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. You are not Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. There's almost no weekends that go by where I'm not doing something. Why? Because if I want to have time with the family at 3:30 to 6:30 and I'm missing those 2 to 3 hours of work, the work still needs to get done. And so I know that on Saturday and Sunday, when kids are napping or I need to get up early or at night, same things apply. So for me personally, and this is just how I live my life, Saturday, Sunday is just like Monday through Friday. It doesn't change. The good news for me is I live a life and I have a business where I love doing it. And so it is not a negative. But within this, what I want you to start thinking about is how I view strategically the business, how I view my schedule, to understand that there is a normal standard, there's a set of how life normally looks, but there are times when I do have to sprint. There are times when life is crazy. And with that, strategically, I have time periods, mornings, nights, weekends, where I can add more as needed. Okay, so what I just shared with you is my current situation, which is great for me, and hopefully you got some insights into that. But if you're a practicing chiropractor, you're an entrepreneur, you own your practice, you're seeing patients, you're doing all the other things and stuff, and you've got the family and the marketing, there's like 1,000 things that are happening right now. What I want to share with you is not only from the hundreds of people that I coach, but if I could go back and do it over, how I could potentially, as a practicing doctor, get to this point faster. And I'm going to share with you 3 specific thought processes, mindset shifts that are going to help you today go and fix your calendar, fix your schedule so that you can build a great business and still have a great family. So number one is time blocking. I remember early in practice when I would get a patient 9 a.m. on Monday morning and my next patient wouldn't be till 11:30 on Monday morning. And I always would think that between patient 1 and patient 2, that I was going to get marketing copy done, or I was going to practice sales, or I was going to have a leadership meeting. And guess what? It never happened. It wasn't because I was lazy. It wasn't because I wasn't motivated. It was because I didn't understand how the brain works. The way that the brain works is that it needs to it's like an engine. The engine needs to warm up, it needs to get into the activity, and it needs to cool down. And so if you're treating a patient, you're in doctor mode. And so to finish treating a patient and then go sit down and do something creative or write copy, it isn't going to happen. And if you struggle with this, you're not alone. Everyone does. This is literally how the brain works. And so the reason why time blocking is so important is because you need to pick activities and spend hours and hours and hours doing one activity. And so the first thing that I would do, if you're a chiropractor and you have patients that are all over the schedule and you have spots in your schedule that are blank, you are wasting that time. What I would encourage you to do, if you haven't opened your practice yet, you should not be seeing patients more than 2 days a week. And within that, I would suggest literally 2 time blocks. So if I hadn't opened yet, my original schedule would be Tuesdays from 9 to 12, and then Thursdays from 3 to 6. I have a morning block and an afternoon block, and the rest of the time I am blocked off the schedule. What am I doing during that time? I am working on my networking, I'm getting out in the community, I'm working on sales. If I'm in a coaching group, I'm getting on my calls, I'm doing mastermind training. Anything and everything that isn't patient care, I need to have massive blocks. But when you first open your business, think about it. Like, I hope you have the problem where you have too many patients, but let's assume that you don't. The worst thing you can do is have a patient at 9 a.m. Monday, and then 3 p.m. Monday, and then Tuesday at 8, and then Tuesday at 11. Scattered all over the place is a problem. And so preemptively, before you get going, you have to block your calendar out. And I would say the minimal time that you can be doing patient care in the most efficient way is the best path forward. Now, even more important, as your schedule gets busy, people want to come at 3 on this time and 6 at this point, you have to be strong. You have to have your calendar blocked out. If you are a doctor, it's only I'm treating patients, I have Tuesday and I have Thursday. Or if I have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And what I would do if I'm you, audit your calendar every single month. Go back to look of how many time slots during your patient care hours you're not seeing patients. And what I would do every month is I wouldn't expand it, I would shrink it. I want to get you to the max amount of efficiency where if you walk in the door at 9 a.m. and you leave at 12, that every single hour is patient care, because you need to be out of your office doing all the other things that are gonna help grow your business, the marketing, the sales, the leadership, all of that. So time blocking is massively important. So once you've time blocked your calendar and you have your block scheduled, now strategically, we have to ask the question, what is the priority? If you think about being a business owner, think about it clinically for a second. If you have a patient that comes in, they've had back pain for 10 years and they've got a left hip and a right hip and an ankle that doesn't move and a neck that doesn't move and a shoulder, your job as the clinician, as the doctor, is to look at this patient and say, all right, you got 1,000 things going on here. However, I'm going to prioritize the 1 to 2 that I believe is going to help us move along the furthest and the fastest in your care. We will eventually get to all of it, but today we have to prioritize. It's the same thing in your business. You have to be able to prioritize the most important activities in your business. I always joke with chiropractors, the only priority is that they show up when the patients are on the schedule. You absolutely do need to. However, you are a business owner, you are an entrepreneur, you are not just a doctor. And so we have to figure out what the other priorities are. If right now you only do marketing when you have time, if you only create content when you have time, that is not a priority. And so we go back to time blocking. Your calendar reflects your priorities, but once you understand that your calendar is correct, how can we actually decide on the priorities? Here's the deal. If you're making less than 50 grand a month, the priority is marketing and sales. The priority is getting people to know who you are and then being able to speak to them in a way that they will become your patient. And so if you're making under $50,000 a month and you are not spending 80% of your time learning, studying, doing marketing, sales, and communication, you're wrong. So I'm just filling that in for you. There is not anything else other than that. If you haven't started your practice yet and you're asking about who do I hire first and how do I grow this and what my logo looks like, it doesn't matter. The only thing, you are not in business until someone knows that you exist, they come into your office, they swipe their credit card and you deliver an outcome. That is when you're officially in business. That never changes. The priority is always going to be getting more people to know you exist and then getting them to become your customer. Marketing and sales. Get a customer, keep a customer. Get a customer, keep a customer. Now, as your business expands, let's say you're at $25,000, $30,000 a month and you hire your first salesperson or you hire a marketing assistant, or maybe you have an associate chiropractor or 2. Well, now priority is to make sure your team can do marketing and sales. Make sure your team can sell. Make sure your team has good clinical care. So now priority is leadership. But understanding at every level of business what your priority becomes and how you block your calendar, now we have a chance to be able to be the most efficient and most effective. And again, remember, so that your business can still grow and your family can grow as well. The problem that most people have, you ask them how it's going, they say, oh, I'm so busy. Busy is a trap. Busy means you're lazy. Busy simply means you haven't done the work to time block your calendar and you haven't done the real work to figure out what the priority is. Someone that is really busy does not understand on a fundamental level what the priority is. Okay, number 3, I think I can really help you out with this one, especially if you're in practice, because I've lived in your world, I've been in practice, and now being in this coaching and mastermind and consulting business, my business cadence has changed and I've realized, and I had a massive breakthrough that I think will help you. Number 3, we have to think about deadlines. So when I was in practice, I don't know if you felt this way, it feels like every day, every week, every month, year on year on year, I'm just continually on a treadmill, sprinting, going as fast as I can to get more customers, to keep them, to treat them well, to lead a team, to hire and grow. And it just feels like this perpetual thing, and it gets tiring. And that's how you get burnt out. And then as I transition into the role I'm in now in the coaching company, in the business, what we have is this beautiful thing called live events. And we have 3 of those a year. We typically have them in June, we typically have them in September, and we typically have them in January. And the thing that it's done for us and our company is given us a cadence to understand when we need to push and when we can step back. And the reason why it's so important to you is because in your business, most likely as a practicing chiropractor, you don't have this. And so it often feels like you have to sprint at all times. And so what we have to be able to do, we have a real deadline in our business. We know that on June 8th, we've got people coming to this event, like everything's gotta be good. And we know on June 12th or 13th, we can chill a little bit. We can make sure that the business runs, we can make sure that we do what we have to do, but we got rid of this thing. We hit our deadline and then we move on to the next thing and we build to the next thing. If you're in practice, you might not have this. And what we need to do is create it. And so Every single day, no matter what, you have to do the basics of marketing, sales, treat your clients, and lead. However, what I think is most important in your practice is to set projects and set deadlines that you know you're gonna work towards, that you're gonna work hard, that you might have to work the morning, you might have to work the night. But then when you hit that goal and when you hit that deadline, then we can take a step back and we can make sure that we're, for a period of time, just doing the basics. And that'll allow you, your team, your family, a mindset to say, hey, I'm working towards this goal. When I hit it, there's gonna be something on the other end. So maybe it is the summer where you're at and it's a time for 5Ks. Well, maybe your practice is working to get to this big event and you have to work mornings, nights, and weekends to reach out to people and to write copy and to get the t-shirts ready and to get your booth ready. And you planning on having this unbelievable event. And then at the end of this, after that deadline, there's gonna be a week where we're gonna chill. And I think it's so important mentally to be able to set those real deadlines, those real projects in your practice, because if not, it's just gonna feel like you're on a perpetual sprint and eventually you're going to burn out. So I believe that the best way in your practice to not have perpetual burnout is to truly look at your business and decide what is the project that we are going to work towards, where we might have to work extra, we might have to do more, we might have to work weekends, we might have to work nights, but then when that's finished, when that's done, you can chill. And maybe at the other end of it, to include your family in it like I do, every time we have a live event, the next week we plan a vacation. Because I know that as the event gets closer, I'm not around as much. I know that that weekend I'm not gonna be available. But my wife and the kids, as they get older, they'll recognize, oh, daddy has an event, but after that, we get to go do something. And so I would encourage all of you to be able to set that. And I only know that because I've experienced both sides of it. So for you guys that are in practice right now, think about what are the projects? What are the big goals? What's the deadline you're going to set to go hit a big target? Go work your butt off to go hit that target. But then after, make sure that you take a minute to chill. Make sure you celebrate it. Make sure that you include your family afterward. Take them to dinner. Take on vacation, just do something so that you involve everyone in this process, and at the end of it, you feel rewarded for it. All right, so that's what I got for you. And just to review, here are the 3 belief blockers that I need you to remember to take back with you, because if you don't solve these, the rest of it is irrelevant. Number 1, you have to realize that work-life balance is absolutely a myth. It's work-life integration. Number 2, that you absolutely can have a growing family and a growing business. It doesn't need to be this way. And number 3, understanding that you don't have to do it all yourself. You need to build a team, because the person today that builds a team, you'll be really happy you did in the future. And then to finish tactically for you in practice right now, number 1, you need to block your schedule. The less you're in the office, the more consistent you are, the less free time you have in between patients, the better. Number 2, you have to then establish what the priority is in your business other than just treating patients, marketing, sales, leadership, activity. And number 3, you have to make sure that you're hitting deadlines, setting deadlines, and then celebrate them after that. And if you do all those things, you have a really good chance to make more money, get more free time on your calendar, and finally build the practice of your dreams.